Sorry again. Amar Rava, Haide Knishta, Chalufa Vezabuna. If you have a shul, you are allowed to exchange it for a different shul. Vezabuna, you're allowed to sell it. Shari, it's permitted. If you're going to exchange it for a different shul, or sell it and buy a nicer location, and if then even the original location does not have to be used for a shul, as it could be used for anything else. It could be used for someone's house. It could be used for a store. Anything besides for the four things which we mentioned, which Mishnah will mention later on, that the shul can never be sold for. A place of idol worship, a place of where things smell. But if you're expanding or going to a nicer place, you are allowed to sell it and to exchange it for another building. One thing you're never allowed to do is get a mortgage on the shul. My timer, what's the reason you can't mortgage a shul? Or you can't rent it out for something else? Because bikushasa kai, the shul always stays in its original holiness. So in the shul itself, you will have, let's say, the windows of the shul, the doors, the benches of the shul, everything there is kedusha, has a holiness, and therefore you can never sell the shul, or you can never rent it out, and you can never mortgage the shul. Because since you didn't sell the original building, the original owners still own it, the kedusha, the holiness, cannot be transferred. And it's still sitting in the original place. If you exchange the shul building for another one, you sold the shul building for another one, so then the holiness is transferred, and the shul is now no longer has the same level of holiness. Even though when you rent out a shul, they're giving money, but you can't say kedusha, holiness, goes on the money of the shul, because the people, the board who runs a shul, did not have in mind to sell it, and it could still be possible to be its original shul. And the kedusha and the holiness never left. Interesting halachas. Halachically, this only applies to a halachic shul. A shul which is never halachic shul, for example, a shul without a mechitza, a shul where men and women are together davening, or similar things to that. Such a shul will never have the kedusha, the holiness of a shul, and therefore none of these restrictions would apply at all. Magen Avram writes in this Gemara that a building of a shul could possibly be sold and become unholy to be used for something else. But an object of a mitzvah, a bima, an Aron Kodesh, that always stays kedusha. That can never leave. That can never, its holiness can never go away. Continues the Gemara. Not just the actual shul building, even more than that. Livni nami, even the bricks of the shul have kedusha, of holiness. And if a brick fell off the wall of a shul, kalifini v'zabdini shari. These bricks have a certain level of sanctity, of holiness, because they're a part of a shul. Therefore, in order to remove the holiness, you have to sell it and use the money for another shul, or you have to exchange it for something better. So to exchange it and to sell the bricks of a shul is permitted. Or is it finu asur? But you're not allowed to lend them out. Some say it means to rent them out, but you're not allowed to lend out the bricks of a shul. All the same halachas which apply to the building of a shul applies as well. If you're lending it out, and the people who you lend the bricks to will give you back different bricks, that you're allowed to do. But you're not allowed to rent it out, you're not allowed to mortgage them out, you're not allowed to make it a collateral. The bricks of a shul themselves are holy. And nowadays, it's not as common, you could say, to repurpose old bricks, but then it was very common. all the way to the 20th century. Matter of fact, I had when I was in Birkenau, Auschwitz, it's a huge, huge area, and all the buildings are made out of brick. And they said they didn't bring in brick and build it. There were 3 villages in that area. They destroyed the houses and used those bricks to build the entire death camp. So it's a common thing to repurpose old bricks, even till semi-modern times. Especially bricks in Bavel. We learned previously in Masechta Tainus how bricks in Bavel, so dry over there, it's all made out of clay. Bricks were something which was very precious. And therefore, it was actually a currency that could be used. The Gemara says, however, there is a caveat that there are times you are allowed to use bricks. Hani mili datikta. Old bricks that have already been part of a shul, those cannot be part of a. So old book, those cannot be used or lent out or rented out for something else. If you have brand new bricks, even if you ordered it custom made for the shul, but you never actually yet built it into a functioning shul, leis lanba, there's no problem to rent them out because they have never yet been used for a sacred purpose. If for whatever reason a shul was destroyed, people do not have a mind to build another shul in it, so then there's discussion if you're allowed to use the old shul for different things, the old bricks for different things, and the Rambam says you are allowed to use the old shul, the bricks of the old shul, if no one has anything what to do for it. Afilu Amanda Amar Hazman Milsi. Now there are 2 opinions. One is called Hazman Milsa, one Hazman Alav Milsa. Could I set aside something for a particular project and then it cannot be used for anything else? This is Masechta Moed Katan. And it's brought regarding to tachrichim, shrouds for someone who passed away. If somebody wove shrouds for a person who passed away, and it's known that anything which is part of the dead body or part of the coffin or goes into the grave with them is prohibited to be used for anything else. That's why we do specifically the cheapest material. Now it's not so cheap. Linen is not so cheap anymore, but we do specifically the cheapest material. Everybody even the custom in Eretz Yisrael till today, and custom was never to have an aron, a box, unless they're being transported far away. Rather to wrap the person passed away in a talis, because anything which goes down with them, people cannot have any benefit or hana. There's other cultures, other nations, when someone dies, they put together with them in the grave, they put all types of valuables, precious things, and the Torah is very strict not to do that. Spending money on a casket needlessly is definitely not the Torah way to do it. Here in America, many even Jewish funeral homes, they make a lot of their business from selling caskets, important casket, and anything which is touching the dead body is asur b'ana, it's forbidden to be used. We learn, how do we know that anything connected to a dead body is prohibited to be used? So the Gemara Masechta Kiddushin says, we learn from Miriam Hanaviyah, Miriam the prophetess, whose yahrzeit is coming up on Yud Nisan, on Wednesday, tomorrow. It says about Miriam that the sister of Aaron and Moshe Rabbeinu, that Vatamas Sham, Miriam died over there. And it says about Eglah Rufa, the calf, which is which if somebody died and no one, and they're found in the field on the road, no one knows how he died. So then there's a certain mitzvah of one of them to do called Eglah Rufa. You take a calf and you have to cut off the head of the calf in the place where the person died, in a valley right near there, and that area is asur b'ana lo'olam, can never be planted. And it says the word sham, arfu sham. Over there, they need to. That's where they do the Eglah Rufa, and it says about Miriam Vatamas Sham. She died over there. We have the word sham over there. So just like you're not allowed to have any benefit, Torah says, from an Eglah Rufa, you can't have any benefit from anything which is on the person who died. So therefore, if I sewed takrichim, if I sewed shrouds, burial shrouds, if the person wore them, the person wore them, and for sure they're asur b'ana, you can't have any benefit from it. But if it only has mana, if I set it aside, so you could order now online with the best hashkakas, you can order tachrichim, you can order burial shrouds. If they were never used, are they mutar b'ana or asur b'ana? Are they allowed to have benefit or not allowed to have benefit? And it's a discussion, machlekes, between Rava and Abaya. Abaya says the fact that it's already designated for the dead person, it makes it asur b'ana, forbidden to be used. I need to undo that. How much is true? I'll make a new share. Let's stop share. Make a new share. Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't purpose. So Abaya says that you're not allowed to have any benefit, even from something which is only set aside for a mace, for someone who passed away. And Rebbe says you're allowed to have benefit until they use it. So let's say, it's cold, you need a blanket. You could use the tachrichim as a blanket. So the same idea would apply to the bricks of a shul, which are hazmana, which were designated, they were set aside for the shul. Abaya says hazmana milsahi, that the fact that it was designated makes it already set there for a shul. And Rebbe says hazmana lav milsahi. The same halacha, interestingly, applies in regards to you said you're not allowed to daven in a bathroom, in a place where people are not tznius, not modest over there. No, it's not respectful. You can't daven. It's asur to daven there. If I'm building a house, and let's say it's still the blueprints, and you only have studs, and you only have a general layout, no plumbing, nothing's inside yet. Can somebody daven or say a bracha in that place which is set aside to be for the bathroom? Alter Rebbe says that you can't. Alter Rebbe paskins that it's asur, it's forbidden, even in a place which is set aside for it. So says the Gemara. He said, even according to the opinion who says that just designating an object is significant, and even if it wasn't yet used for its intended purpose, but any halachic ramifications of using that for that purpose would already take place, already be in place. That is specifically in a case where, let's say, someone was weaving a burial shroud for someone who passed away. After it's already woven, so therefore it's the only thing missing is just putting it onto the person who passed away. But it itself is not missing any action, meaning it's already prepared, everything is ready for it to be put onto the person who passed away. But over here, when we're discussing walls are made out of bricks, and I built the bricks. Now, if I ordered the bricks for the shul, but they weren't yet built into the wall of the shul, they're not even preliminary stages ready. It's similar to somebody who gathered material, gathered string, gathered thread in order to make a burial shroud. And therefore, you would definitely be allowed to use the bricks of the shul for another purpose, because They weren't yet built into the wall of the shul. But everybody holds just designating threads for a burial shroud is not sufficient to prohibit the threads, because it's still, you can't put the threads onto the person who passed away. So similar, if you have the bricks of the shul, it's even if you're lined up in a row, it's not ready to be davened in right away. It has to be built. $11:36. All right, we'll do a few halakas on Pesach. And then tomorrow, hopefully, we'll go through the sugya, which is very relevant for today, the sugya of shemus. Taking things and were used for a mitzvah, whether it's an old sefer, an old printout. What is halacha with it? Do you have to put it, could you throw it out? Do you have to bury it? Where does it go? We'll go into a little bit of the sugya, the topic of shemus. That's going to be in this Gemara. I was just coming from Borough Park. On every other street corner, you have a shemus truck. People could come bring their shemus over there. Nowadays, with the advent of printing, and everyone could print at home, there's more shemus than we've ever had before. So we'll go, Mr. Hashem, tomorrow through the topic of shemus and in halacha. I'm going to go through some halachas of the Seder. Kufya test 119. One. Let's go there. 119. I'll go through some minhagim, some customs of Chabad, and then we'll end off with a very short video on this topic. Of course, this is for most of us, this is a review, but it's always good to review halachas. Although regularly on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you're allowed to start your meal early, especially in the summer Shabbases. You're allowed to bring in Shabbos early, make Kiddush while it's still light outside. And to begin and add on extra time to Yom Tov or Shabbos. The Pesach is different. The mitzvah of eating matzah is only by night. The Moikar Pesach, just like by Pesach. As it says by the Karban Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice has to be eaten only by night. The meat must be eaten by night, and it's eaten together with the matzah. You have to drink the 4 cups of wine by night. And since Kiddush is one of the 4 cups of wine, therefore you cannot make Kiddush until it's dark. This is a very practical halacha, especially in places like, let's say, London, Switzerland, Sweden, many places in Russia, Moscow, Leningrad, where Pesach comes in very late at night. I went to Russia, to different cities, Volsky or other places. The earliest time to eat matzah in these cities is about 9 o'clock, 9:10 at night. To call your Seder for Kaddish at 9:10 at night, it'll be very difficult to do. Most people are
tired.
What?
Are tired. It's too late.
It's too late to call, for especially people who aren't used to it. It's too late to call them. So Yaakov, welcome back.
Happy Passover, everyone.
Happy. How is the Holy Land?
Well, it's okay now, right now. Thanks God. God is protect us, always. From Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah.
So the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, they live every day with miracles. Baruch Hashem. They have Hashem. Yaakov,
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you for joining us. So happy to see you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, it gets too late. So one of the rabbis, they of Bezdin in Moscow, they have a special seder where you could do for the people, for the public seders in Russia. We start seder while it's still light outside. Matter of fact, we had a concert. We're at a place to a city where I went. We had a concert starting at 7:00. Everybody was sitting there. Still wasn't candle lighting even. And after that, we put on tefillin with all the people at the seder. We start off as soon as it hits shkia, sunset. We did kiddush, which is, although it's one of the 4 cups of wine, but kiddush you're allowed to make earlier and drink another cup of wine later on. Afterwards, we do karpas, dipping, because that's part of kiddush. Then right away we did yakat zafikomen, and then we did magid. We had shulchan orech, the meal, and the meal we had a few courses taking our time. And as soon as it hits 9:10, that moment, that's when we went out and gave out every single person, gave out shmur matzah to them. Everyone could eat matzah. By 9:30, the seder was over. We made sure everybody drank 4 cups of grape juice or wine. I think everybody there had at least that amount. And by 9:30, the seder was over. But they ate the matzah, maror, koyach, everything starting exactly from 9:10. So it's in places like, and that's in places like Volgograd, Volsky, in places which are further north, it gets even more difficult. There have been places where it was after 10 o'clock at night. Next thing is very interesting. Minhag Chabad is different than everyone else in this regard, which it says, Yilbash es hakittel. One should wear the kittel, the white garment that you wear on Yom Kippur. And sit in your place to make the seder. Minhag Chabad is that we don't wear a kittel. Mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to give out gifts to the kids. The kids should ask questions. So back then, big gifts were nuts and almonds. Nowadays, it's chocolate-covered almonds and chocolate-covered nuts. They should ask a question. And start asking many, many questions. And from when a child could speak already and understand, that's when we bring them to the seder, and you even give them everything, the 4 cups of wine. My mother-in-law was very Hungarian and hug him. My son just came 3 years old a few months ago. She bought him a silver becher for the Pesach, to train them and to get them excited already from a young age for Yom Tov. And all his sisters like, it's not fair. We deserve one too.
Mm-hmm.
But and we pour 1 extra cup, which we don't drink, called the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi. This is a new custom. This wasn't always customarily. It wasn't around always. It's not even in the Rishonim. I don't think it's even brought down in Shulchan Aruch. I think maybe the Ramah. They used to pour in the times of the Gemara and the Mishnah used to pour a 5th cup during Magid. Here we pour the 5th cup at the end of the Seder, and the Rebbe explains in a beautiful Sikha, because then we were close to the times of the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore we poured an extra cup to say, we want to bring Magid, the time of the leaving Mitzrayim, the current Pesach, but now we're close to Mashiach already. So instead of pouring by Magid, by the troubles of the Jews, we pour the 5th cup by Mirza. We're talking about the praises and the songs of Hashem. This is an interesting halacha. Minhag Chabad is actually different. It says that somebody should pour the wine for you. You're the balabayit, the one leading the seder. Someone else should pour the wine for you in your cup, because that is a way of cheiros, a way of feeling freedom and feeling like a king. And every time someone else should pour it for you. Our custom, Minhag Chabad, is not to not to be careful about it. And in the Rebbe's Haggadah, the very first book that the Rebbe published, it was a Yom Yom, and then the Haggadah Shal Pesach, with explanations from the Rebbeim. So the Rebbe writes over there that the only reason why in Haggadah it's not written, the custom is not that someone else should do it for you, is because one time by the Frierdiker Rebbe say there's somebody poured wine for the Frierdiker Rebbe, and you can write Nogin Shelo. Our custom is not to pour wine. Someone else should do it. That's why it says Lo Nogin. Our custom is not that someone Lo Medaktin. You don't have to be careful about it. So the idea of Derech Eros, as I understand, I'm sure there's a deeper reason, probably a halachic reason as well. But from what I understand, the reason is that if I'm doing Derech Erut, I'm being a king, I'm being free, but we don't do it al cheshbon acher. The other person should have to serve me. I'm a Cheros, I'm free, and you show you're free, but not by making someone else serve you. And you should drink at least most of the cup, and drink it at once, because it's called a shliach. The Alter Rebbe says you don't have to drink the entire cup to be yotzei, to fulfill your obligation, but rather at least the real revius, at least about 1.8 ounces, about 2 ounces at one time. Now, different cups of wine have different levels of the 4 cups have different levels of obligation. Alter Rebbe says best to drink the entire cup at all, but in places where wine is expensive, so then it's enough to drink most of the cup of wine, except for the last cup, you should drink the entire thing, and the first cup, you should try drinking the whole thing. From the 4th cup, you have to drink a full 3 ounces. And it's best to drink it all at once, meaning none without stopping. If you stop in the middle, there's nothing you can do. And this is not just a person making kiddush, one in charge, but every single person in the house tonight makes their own kiddush, because everybody has an obligation to drink 4 cups of wine and to make a bracha, blessing on Yitzias Mitzrayim. In the 1980s, there was a certain person, an individual, Crown Heights, he used to make his own homemade wine, and those who were, very strict on Pesach would get wine only from this person. And when he was getting a little bit older, and the wine, and the Rebbe used to also get wine from this person, the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin, but the wine started becoming, sour. I guess he wasn't storing it properly. I'm not sure what happened. And the Rebbetzin was drinking 4 cups of this wine, and this wine smelled like vinegar, and it tasted like vinegar, and it took her a very long time to even drink that amount of wine. And then afterwards they fix that after. An interesting thing. You have to have in mind when you're drinking the 4 cups of wine, and you have to have in mind when you're eating matzah and maror, that I'm doing this to do the mitzvah of remembering the story of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Women are also obligated. Women don't have to lean. The Alter Rebbe is interesting in Shulchan Aruch, goes back and forth 3 times. The Alter Rebbe says, in the beginning, women should also lean, because they have a mitzvah as well. But the custom was that only important women leaned, dignitaries, queens. Nowadays, all of our women are important. Everyone's important, so they all have to lean, but nowadays nobody leans. So therefore, he goes back and forth, and therefore he says women don't have to lean. You don't have to tell them lean some of them do, some of them don't. If they do, it's a very good thing. But women don't have to lean by the Seder for different reasons are given. One of them is that their husbands are there, and therefore they feel always sort of obligated to their husbands. If a wife does not feel obligated to her husband, she definitely should lean. Yase Kiddush because of Haggadah. you should make the kiddush, as the Haggadah says, v'yishtav asaba small, lean on your left side. It says it's the idea of safety. Best, of course, is to drink the entire cup of wine at all 4 cups, and that is a minhag Chabad to try, to drink the entire cup of wine by every one of the 4 cups. You wash your hands and you don't make a brach on it, and you could dry them. And you cut from the karpas on the seder plate for every single person. Everyone should have at least and most a kazayas, an olive amount, because if they eat more than that amount, so then they would have to make it after bracha. And when you make the later on in the seder, when we eat the maror, the bitter herbs, this bracha of adama that you made now goes on the maror as well. And the widespread custom is that to eat also karpas while leaning on the left side. Minhag Chabad, based on different poskim, Shochet, etc., is that we don't lean when we eat the karpas, and we don't put back the leftovers of the karpas onto the seder plate. We specifically leave it off the seder plate off the Haakarah to show that we finished with it. We'll finish this one halacha. Then you take the middle of the 3 matzahs, and our custom is to do it while it's covered, so the crumbs shouldn't go all over. And to break the middle matzah in half, we divide it in half. Our custom is to take the larger half, break it into 5 pieces, and to sweeten the 5 gvuros, and then to put the larger part for the afikomen. And many people hide it. A Chabad custom is to put it by the actual table, so between the pillows of the person who's by the seder, because you're supposed to say the seder over the perusa, over the broken piece of matzah, but you want to have all 3 matzahs there, so you also do the afikomen nearby. And the custom is to wrap it in a handkerchief. Out there, Rebbe says the custom is to hide it under the tablecloth. And the custom of our Rebbes was to put it between the pillows that were next to them. Similar to when they left Egypt, it says that the matzah was wrapped in their clothes. Leftovers are wrapped in their clothes, and therefore we wrap up in handkerchiefs, or many people have fancy afikomen bags, all of the leftovers of afikomen. There's many different customs. Some people put it on the shoulder and walk around. Other people, which I know of, take this whole entire seder plate and they bang it on everybody's heads. Many different minhagim that people have. And the larger part is used for the afikomen because that is what's used later on for the carbon Pesach. It's more important. And this last thing over here, let me just do it with the sound, so you should get the sound better. This is in the year Tashrim Memches 1988. This is on Yud Aleph Nisan, 11th of Nisan, which is a Rebbe's birthday. And the Rebbe gave out matzah in his house to different shluchim. That year, a few months before that, the Rebbe's Mushka, the Rebbe's wife, the Rebbetzin, she passed away. The Rebbe moved everything. The Rebbe davened 3 times a day in his house and stayed in his house throughout the year, except for Shabbos, went to 770. It's very unique. Nobody ever went into the Rebbe's personal house. Everyone was very, surprised how simple it was. But over here, the Rebbe gave out matzah to shluchim in different places to travel back. You'll see people here from all over, from Israel. And after the Rebbe gave out the matzah, the all the shluchim. The Rebbe went back upstairs to the second floor of his house, the Rebbe's office was, and then the shluchim danced Hisha Amda. Hisha Amda, what it says, in every generation they try to destroy us, but Hashem saves us from their hand. In middle, Rabbi Avraham Shem Tov from Philadelphia comes in, went upstairs to the Rebbe in the Rebbe's office in his house to give the Rebbe the declaration. He came straight from Washington D.C. The declaration of President signed of Education Day, National Education Day, and nowadays it's hundreds, thousands of places. I would say it gets done. Pennsylvania, the President of the U.S. We sign the National Education and Sharing Day always on the day of the Rebbe's birthday. And you'll see my father also over here dancing. Very appropriate message. And every generation is trying to destroy us, but Hashem saves us from their hand. We've seen miracles. We've seen many, many, many greater, more miracles. My father has a story that he would repeat very often. So the Rebbe used to, for about 20 years, maybe longer, the Rebbe used to go visit many different communal seders. In Crown Heights, there were a seder that would take place for the yeshiva bachrim, the students, the Iranian refugees, the Russian refugees, the Machan Chana, the Baal Tshuva yeshiva, the other Baal Tshuva women's yeshiva. And the Rebbe personally, before his own seder, would go visit many of the seders himself, walk around to all of them. And so by one of the seders, which was, I think, for the Iranian Jews, I remember exactly who, and it was where the Kollel in Crown Heights is now, the second floor of a building, a very large room. I mean, there were, many hundreds and hundreds of Iranian refugees. The Rebbe was said, make sure that they have rice, even though it's not minig Ashkenaz to have rice on Pesach, they should have rice. So my father was following behind the Rebbe, and when the Rebbe walked up the steps, the Rebbe said there are 21 steps over here, which says Ach Toiv Yisrael. It is only Ach is 21, which means it will only be good for the Jews. And another time, says by the Rebbe's Seder, till the year 1970, the Rebbe's Seder took place in the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment on the second floor of 770, and where the Frierdiker Rebbe's Rebbetzin Nechemedina was still living then, and the Rebbe would have the Seder over there, where the Frierdiker Rebbe would have it. And at the end of the Seder, that was always, it was one of the only times that people were able to see there at Tkiyah Shofar, how the Rebbe lay in a way of Dveikus, very spiritual, high, Kavanah. And there was a mockery. One person was reading the Haggadah out loud for everyone, and he came to the words, Hashem who does great miracles because his kindness is everlasting. And he said it out loud, and the Rebbe told him, say it again. So he said it again out loud. And the Rebbe said, say it again. And he repeated the pasuk a third time. Later on, they found out that night there were 3 major miracles that happened in Eretz Yisrael with stopping terrorist attacks in different places. So it's a time of miracles. Nisan is a month of Nisan, miracles, and we'll conclude with this video. Right there, right there. You see now? He's coming from Washington. He went to give the Rebbe the declaration from the president. May Hashem save us, but that's it. Now only Mashiach.
Amen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, I was able to see everything.
Label. Oh, thank you so much for coming.
I have a question. I have some question, Rabbi. Maybe if I ask
Sure.
about it's about Chol HaMoed and the Shvi of Passover. Why they daven the prayer only half Hallel during the days of the Shvi of Passover and the Chol HaMoed?
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent question. So I think it's more of a question the other way around. How come on Sukkot we say the whole Hallel every single day? Now we say Hallel whenever there's a new holiday, something new. Now Pesach, it's just one holiday. We have Pesach, and then it continues from there. On Sukkot, we say every single day the whole Hallel, because every single day there was a different amount of karbanos in the Beis HaMikdash. So every day was like a new holiday because something new was being done. But on Pesach and Chol HaMoed, every day was the same amount. So it wasn't anything new every day. And the last days of Pesach are just a continuation of the first days. So we don't say whole Hallel because it's not its own Chag, but by Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, it's a new Chag. It's a new holiday. That's why we don't have to eat in the Sukkah anymore then, and then we say whole Hallel because now it's a new Chag. It also had a different amount of karbanos that were brought. Sure. Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, with that, I'll be going to see you all tomorrow, Mir Hashem. Tomorrow should be the last year until Pesach.
Good day.
Thank you.
You too.